Full.
Right. Excellent. I'm going to just wait another 2 minutes, Victoria and Charlie, for people coming in. So there seem to be quite a lot of people still joining.
Can I suggest that everybody just mutes themselves too?
Yes, please do. I don't think there's anybody else in the waiting room that I can see now. Okay, well, I think I think we will kick off. So thank you all. Can you all hear me now? Am I
Yes.
audible? Yes, excellent. Thank you. So I'm delighted to welcome also people from Ireland, Kilkenny, and another colleague who I believe is hoping to head up the Irish the Irish member of the European Grandparents for Climate. Sorry, I've lost her name, Phil, if you can give me it back.
It's Maria, and I don't see her online here. And
No.
I'm afraid, Alan, neither of us is as yet committing to head up the local branch, but we will keep searching for somebody who will do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm delighted that this meeting is following our last presentation from Chris Gorrell-Barnes, one of the founders of Blue Marine Foundation. Victoria Turner, who's going to talk to us, is the education lead for Blue Marine Foundation, where she's been working since May 24. And before that, she was executive director for the Ionian Environment Foundation, um, where she supported both marine and terrestrial conservation programs across the Ionian Islands, with a big focus on building education programs in the Greek curriculum. And before that, she was a teacher of geography and head of department at Norwich School in Norfolk. So that's Victoria, and also we're delighted to have Charlie Clift, currently a final A-year A-level student who has, according to his mother, who came on before him, been running or part of Teach the Future since he was 14. Teach the Future is is a campaign group for young people to to try and achieve better education about the climate for students. And it's part of a very large umbrella organization called SOS UK, who handle all their safeguarding and onboarding procedures. And they have actually 40 full-time staff and many different kinds of campaigns. But Charlie himself is just in Teach the Future. So welcome both, and I think we're very much looking forward to hearing both of your presentations, both Victoria's presentation on the significance of the new Department for Education's requirements on what I think is meant to be uh, well, let Victoria tell me what it is, and to hear Charlie as discussant and see how he thinks that does or does not meet the needs that he and his organization have been campaigning for. At the end of the presentation, which will be up to half an hour, and there will be a bit more time for discussion, then we will be having an open friends meeting about the future of our grandchildren's climate. Em Farrell is going to chair this discussion from now. I'm just doing the introductions. And then I think Ellie Kavanagh will be introducing the issue that we want to discuss afterwards. So thank you very much, and over to you, Victoria.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Alan. And it's a real pleasure to be here with you all today. It's a pretty auspicious day as well to be here on the 5th of November because the DfE's curriculum review has just been published today. So I'll talk a little bit about that and how that influences our ability to bring climate education into the curriculum. But in the meantime, yes, we're focusing on the DfE's climate action plan and how we can help schools engage with this in a sort of interesting, supportive and novel ways. I don't know how much this group know about Blue Marine Foundation, but I just thought for context, I'd just explain a little bit about how Blue Marine operates, who we are and what we do. So we're a conservation charity founded in 2010. And we work to protect and restore life in the ocean with these main goals of being to secure effective protection of the sea, tackle overfishing, and restore vital ecosystems. And Blue Education was created, luckily for me, because the most important role for any conservation work in my mind is building deep understanding within education systems that ensures long-term sustainable conservation success. And that can only really be done if you've got a knowledgeable public sphere. So in terms of where we work globally. We work across the world, 27 countries, 5 continents. We support over 28 marine protected areas and have helped secure commitments to protect over 4.5 million square kilometres of ocean. So clearly we're doing something right to engage governments around the world with marine conservation. And I do think that a large part of our success lies in Blue's ability to leverage funds and really nurture strategic partnerships that allow us to be bureaucratically nimble. So in terms of our vision, the kind of goal of Blue Marine is to see a healthy, abundant ocean that supports people and climate. And we want to really work towards this 30% of the ocean is protected by 2030, as well as ensuring the sustainable management of those protected areas. And as I hope this presentation will show, a big part of achieving that goal is ensuring that young people, communities, coastal communities, inland communities, policymakers understand the role that a protected and healthy ocean has in mitigating against climate change and biodiversity disaster. So in terms of how we operate, Blue Marine has 8 specialist units internally that support all of our projects and partners with this technical capacity. And we deploy combinations of these units to achieve our conservation impact. And they really challenge the way the ocean is governed and understood and support our projects, but also hope, having 8 units really enables us to catalyze this systemic change. For example, the Blue Education Unit works with the climate team to build educational resources that support our blue carbon projects in the Maldives, for example. Or Blue Education might work with the policy team to ensure that we connect with local MPs connected to curriculum reform. So we work very closely with all, between those units to maximize our impact. So for the Blue Marine Education Unit, really the way that we operate is, we want to ensure that we are achieving conservation impact by embedding ocean literacy and learning into both formal education systems and informal learning environments. In the UK, this sort of means really striving to integrate ocean knowledge into the curriculum, into teacher training opportunities and national education frameworks that can influence policy and long-term learning. I guess internationally, the focus is more working with our local partners on capacity building and community engagement through resources and approaches that are suited to their specific needs and context, where we hope to empower those communities with their conservation efforts. So really, by combining our efforts for systemic change in education in terms of the big E, and combining those efforts with our more experiential community-based learning, which is literally, we really hope to strengthen conservation outcomes and build resilience in these both domestic and overseas contexts. But interestingly, as you can see in these photos on this slide here, we've acknowledged that really, even overseas, unless we can really engage formal education channels and build ocean education into official school curricular requirements, then the long-term systemic change in habits, attitudes, and mindsets just won't be sustained and won't change. So teacher training is really key. Teach the teacher, and it's something that you can see in those photos we've been doing with our partners in the Maldives, also in Namibia. And that bottom photo is me actually at the University of East Anglia working with geography and science teachers on how they can integrate oceans and climate education into their existing curriculum teaching. So today, I've got this slide in here. I'll just put this in quickly now. But essentially, we're thrilled because this is the final report from Becky Francis's curriculum review to be now submitted to government for government to then review. Government will then decide on whether or not to endorse these changes. And then the final kind of implemented new curriculum will start in 2028. But, I've just put a couple of examples of why we're pleased, and I'm interested to hear what Charlie feels as well. But, the review emphasizes, as we had requested in our submissions for recommendations, a much more Earth systems approach, giving us opportunities to show how oceans connect with climate, biodiversity, and human activity. We weren't asking for an extra topic. Instead, we wanted to see ocean climate nexus integrated in a much more cross-curricular approach. And that's indeed what they've emphasized, not as fully perhaps as we'd have wanted, but it's a very good start. So as you can see, the curriculum review puts us in a very good position. It's placed a strong emphasis on sustainability and climate education and embedded ocean and marine topics across multiple subjects. So this is something to be really, pleased about. I did look very quickly, Charlie, at Teach the Future's website, and you've made some excellent observations there too about the report. I suppose what is sort of exciting about all of this is that the momentum and the discourse about the importance of climate change education is building. But as I said, that curriculum review itself has taken so much time. It will be 2028 before those changes are actually implemented. So in the meantime, we have identified the DfE's climate action plan as a really important and useful immediate entry point into formal education, where we can build some really useful resources that help teachers meet the requirements of their climate action plan. And we're starting that immediately. So I'm just going to flip forward a little bit. I mean, the DfE essentially created this climate action plan as part of the government's broader sustainability and climate change strategy. And just for those of you that don't know much about it, that they have claimed or acknowledged that through education, we have the privilege to be able to engage directly with children and young people to ensure that they are passionate about the natural world, that they want to do their best to protect it, and they are a fantastic audience for influencing their wider communities. So, the DfE are making all the right noises for ensuring that climate education can come into the curriculum. And this is a really powerful quote. There are more than 16 million children, young people, and adults in education who can inspire the whole of society to work together at the start of this crucial decade for the planet. Obviously, that was written at the beginning of the ocean's decade. But this is our opportunistic time really for Blue Marine to note this is our entry point. We also know that a lot of schools have been put under a lot of pressure to meet these 4 key areas within their climate action plans. And the requirements, are pretty heavy. They've got to appoint a sustainability lead. They've got to show evidence for how, as a whole school operations culture, they are addressing energy efficiency. They've got to show how they're improving the way that climate education and green careers are brought in to their teaching. And I think that, again, Blue Marine has acknowledged that all these requirements are onerous, and teachers, from my own experience, it's hard to be filled with new expectations when your existing timetable is so heavy and packed and exhausting. So acknowledging all of that, Blue Marine again thought this is a really opportune time for us to support those teachers in this task of meeting those requirements. And the requirements, as I said, on paper sound so fantastic, but the practicalities of schools implementing them is another story. So Blue Marine is launching a program that really aims to support those sustainability leads, because, as we said, the DfE makes all the right noises for shaking up climate change and engagement in schools, but teachers have told us that they have very few resources or guidance about how to sort of meet and support those requirements. In fact, there was an article I saw quickly this afternoon in The Guardian where teachers, and teacher unions were saying exactly that. Yet again, another curriculum review and report that is putting more demands on teachers with very limited guidance on how we can make those changes. So we're pretty excited to be able to build this program. I'm just going to play you a clip from our Future Generations premiere of Oceans, because I've mentioned it here as to why now are we building this program for teachers to utilize. And we hosted over 45 schools. Blue Marine invited 45 schools with their classes to the Ocean Future Generations premiere. And we did some really interesting pre and post surveys about children and teachers' understanding of the ocean climate nexus. And what we discovered was that teachers felt totally, unable to effectively teach the science behind the ocean climate nexus. It wasn't part of their teacher training. And equally, the students told us that they wanted to learn more. And the film really propelled us forward into realizing that this is the time to bring a program like ours into the schools to support those teachers. So I'm just going to show you this clip and I hope you hear it.
We're here at the Future Generations screening of Ocean with David Attenborough in cinemas this week.
So David Attenborough, it's his greatest story yet.
An amazing movie, really inspiring, really emotional. It helped me understand what we're actually doing to the oceans and how we can help stop that. Extraordinary, breathtaking, awesome, inspirational.
Get the best out of this film, see it on the big screen.
So to sort of make sure that you have this clear connection between climate education, climate change education, and the ocean, the point is that ocean action is climate action, and the ocean climate nexus is such an important one for people to understand. And I think many people admit to not realizing the central role that the oceans play in planetary health and in climate change mitigation. So the connection between the oceans and climate change, is a really important starting point to illustrate to young people. These sorts of figures just show the relevance of the oceans in climate processes, in climate change, and also as a store and an incredibly mitigating factor towards the climate change that we're experiencing. I also just think that one really simple message to share and discuss with anyone or any young or old who questions the mechanics of climate change, or indeed whether it is human induced at all, is just by showing them the carbon cycle. And apologies if I'm sort of teaching you to suck eggs, but really lots of people taught about the carbon cycle, but it's a very terrestrial focus. And actually, you know, when you realize that the carbon cycle is a closed system with a fixed amount of carbon that is circulating between stores, 45,000 gigatons of carbon within our planet moving between those stores, it's pretty easy to convey the understanding then that if you remove carbon from one of those stores, i.e. from beneath the ocean through oil drilling, or you take it out of a fossil fuel store, or you burn vegetation, then there's going to be an increase in that carbon elsewhere. So if you burn it, you're going to have an increase in the atmospheric concentrations of CO2. And I often sort of use this when I'm doing sort of school workshops or teacher trainings, and teachers say to me, what a brilliant way of just simply showing through the science that actually if we disrupt the carbon cycle, then it's very obvious why carbon that is burnt is placed into the atmosphere. CO2 is the most effective greenhouse gas that traps heat and warms the planet. Of course, human-induced climate change is clear and it can't be questioned. So I often think that the carbon cycle is a very simple starting place. But, you know, do people realize where all that carbon is stored? Like I said, we have 45,000 gigatons of carbon. Do any of you have any idea what these 5 stores might be? Would anyone like to tell me what they could be, where those stores are?
Well, let's guess one of them is the ocean.
Hooray!
The biggest one is the ocean.
Yeah, the biggest one is the ocean. Okay, well that's the main point. But the other stores include, I think I've actually got it on
the atmosphere.
Oh, indeed, the atmosphere,
Soil,
sediment, vegetation, and fossil fuels. But I just think that, you know, 38,873 gigatons of carbon stored in the ocean is a phenomenal acknowledgement, and I don't think it's one that students really are taught about or understand. And if that's your starting point, you know, whether that's in your geography or science class, then it's easy to understand the logic behind protecting those oceans and the role that they play in helping us fight climate change. So the oceans really are central to our understanding of climate change, not least because they actually absorb 90% of the excess heat created by humans, and they absorb 30% of excess atmospheric CO2. So they're just such a phenomenal resource, and one that needs to be celebrated, loved, and protected. So I just thought that was a useful what can I do in those conversations about you know, understanding climate change and the role of the ocean. So the program, returning to our new program and how we can bring this ocean into climate education and climate action. Our plan is to support schools, as I said, to meet the requirements of their climate action plan through the launch of this 5-year program, which essentially gives schools guidance on bringing climate education to life, while also offering opportunities to access free teaching resources, teacher training seminars, hands-on workshops, and field trips to Blue Marine's project locations, as well as collaborative events. So we've started by circulating a guide for how those teachers can deliver an impactful climate action plan, and we outlined the sort of guided support that Blue Marine would be offering. It's obviously an incredibly ambitious
just listening
program.
to another lecture, but if you want me to leave, I can leave.
Oh, someone,
Like 6 o'clock.
Leonard,
When do you
Can someone-
start?
Leonard, could you mute? I don't know. Or you...
That's better. Thank you. So Yeah, it's a very ambitious program. It's a 5-year program, and we're very much at the moment in our pilot phase, where we're working with 12 schools from within our schools network to both inform and trial the activities and resources that we hope to develop. But the 5 key areas for our program are here. And this all really sings to the climate action plan requirements that the DfE has announced. And we just really hope that it will be something that teachers see as supporting them. It's not burdening them. We want them to get involved. We want to help them bring climate education to life through the positive stories of the ocean and through increased ocean access. The idea is that we really want to bring the ocean into the classroom and bring the classroom and the students to the ocean through these field trips. So we've also got a number of kind of important strategic partners that we're working with to market the program and ensure that we're reaching a wide audience in terms of equality, diversity and inclusion. And we really hope to scale this program up. And as I said, it's such an opportune time to be doing that now. So one thing that, Alan said to me was really, what can we all do to support this and help increase the climate education that we're trying to push into schools? And I've just put a list of sort of ideas here, just sort of everyday things that we can all be doing. I do love this idea of storytelling and being able to speak to grandchildren about how even in your lifetime, you're able to remember how the climate has changed, how the seasons have become more blurred, for example, and why is that? And just sort of giving them experiential evidence about what you're seeing in terms of climate change, and fostering a curiosity for them to then want to go and learn more. Of course, lead by example and question the sources of your cans of tuna or your salmon. These are really important just to show engagement with sustainable choices. And then I think in terms of this program and climate action plans, if there's any opportunity to speak to young people or people that are involved in school boards, ask them who's your sustainability lead and what are their plans and do they need support, because we think we can offer you some free support from an organisation that will really bring your climate action plans to life. And really, the climate review, the curriculum review is very much, as I said, a published, finalised report, but it's not endorsed yet. It's a report to government to then take and decide if and how they will endorse it. So I think maintaining momentum on the discourse around the importance of adding all of the relevant parts of climate education that were referenced in this report and making sure that those are endorsed is great. There's still a lot of noise to be made.
Victoria, this is really wonderful, but I'm just aware of our timing.
I finished.
How about that?
So thank you so much, and
wonderful.
I hope I didn't run it on too long.
Not at all. That's brilliant. I think over to you, Charlie.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was so cool to hear. Thank you, Victoria. It really echoes exactly the sentiments I think we have as Teach the Future and I have as a young person with my current issues with my climate education. So I guess I'll start with a tiny bit of context on who Teach the Future are. I know, Alan, you mentioned briefly at the start. We were set up in 2019 out of the School Strikes for Climate movement, when essentially young people realized that they didn't know about the crisis they were striking for. They weren't prepared enough. And the reason they were striking was, because there was governmental inaction on climate change, and they didn't, the education system had failed to give them enough preparation to deal with this. So that is kind of where Teach the Future came from, is all the main principle has always been it's youth-led voice on climate education. It's our future and it's our education system. And so we want to take control and ensure that our voice is listened to. So since then, we've had lots of success. We introduced the first ever student-written bill into Parliament called the Climate Education Bill. It didn't make law, but it had support from all major political parties. We ran out of time in the last parliamentary session. But that would have integrated climate change and sustainability throughout the curriculum in all subjects at all levels. The main issue at the minute that we find as young people is we're kind of taught modules on the climate crisis in a very siloed way, like in, say, chemistry and a bit of geography. We're taught, we'll be taught about the science of global warming, say, but in kind of a big global way, without connecting it to our own lives and without connecting it to the other subjects we learn, which is extremely overwhelming. And it can kind of often lead us to just become completely disengaged. So yeah, I mean, our aims, which I think mirror a lot of what you were talking about, is ensuring it's in all subjects and it's kind of sustainability is taken as a principle rather than as a standalone module. And so yeah, the curriculum and assessment review, I've just seen some of the recommendations that came out of it. It was very encouraging, actually. There was a whole section on solutions on teaching on the solutions, which was very much something that we emphasized in all our calls for evidence with the Francis panel. And in fact, our SOS's report, which was set up partly through Teach the Future, called the Youth Shadow Panel Interim Report, was referenced in this report around that solution-centered section. Yeah.
It's brilliant. Yeah, I think it's super exciting because when you sort of dig into the weeds of that curriculum report and identify the asks that your organisation made, Charlie, Teach the Future, and organisations like Blue Marine made, and you see reference to that terminology, and a systems approach, an interdisciplinary approach, embedding sustainability into all areas of the curriculum. It's very satisfying, but I think we have a lot to be very pleased with, and Becky Francis clearly has listened to the hundreds of organizations that submitted recommendations, so incredibly encouraging. And I think that now really over the next 18 months it's just critical that we maintain the volume around that, the importance of bringing that into the curriculum, and which is why, as I said, the program comes at a great time. It's very serendipitous that we're developing it now at this very important period in curriculum reform. I had a couple of questions for Charlie, and I know Charlie might have a couple for us, but are you okay, Alan, if we just carry on and talk about those?
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm going to answer for him. I saw a thumbs up.
Ed is chairing, I should just say, sorry.
Oh yes, sorry, Alan. So yeah, it was really interesting to hear, Charlie, you talk about how in school it's very easy to become overwhelmed by the current approach to how they teach about sustainability and climate change, and you were saying that embedding it more systemically throughout the curriculum and as a more almost like a more nuanced approach to how we understand sustainability, it just becomes an elemental part of all of the syllabus. That would almost normalize it, wouldn't it, and help us to realize, okay, there are issues linked to the climate and biodiversity crisis, but we're talking about them so frequently that we sense that there is already an awareness and an engagement and a subsequent agency to act that probably mitigates eco-anxiety. But I just wondered, this term eco-anxiety gets bandied around quite a lot, and you're still in school, and amongst yourself and your peers, I mean, obviously you do, because you're a very discerning and engaged individual, with Teach the Future, but do you sense that there is an eco-anxiety amongst your peers? Is it something they talk about into the school playground or common rooms?
Yeah, I mean, eco-anxiety is very different for different people, I think. And it manifests itself in lots of different ways. Definitely for some people, it's very clearly a like a daily occurrence and a big a big cause of general anxiety and mental health issues is just this feeling that the world's crumbling and there's nothing we can do about it. That definitely comes up a lot. But what I think is another big issue is I think I mentioned it earlier, is this idea of disassociation, and when it's presented to us in a way that's just like the world is ending, it's kind of an inevitable fact. Nothing we can do about it. Your only option then is, if it's presented in that way, it's just, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about it, so I'll just kind of pretend it's not happening. Which is not to say that they don't believe it's happening, but it's just we kind of feel the need to feel like we can't do anything about it, so there's no point, essentially. So there's no point having discussions about it and no point talking about it, which is why I think fostering conversation and teaching on the nuances of the issue rather than just the science of the problem is so important.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and something, in terms of almost sort of behavioral psychology is such an important part of building this program, and understanding, A, how do we address this eco-anxiety, and B, how do we ensure that our education program stimulates advocacy and positivity and action, rather than, as you said, this sort of, it's beyond us, let's just switch off. That's really interesting, and one thing that I keep hearing with the various partners we talk about is this, take this sort of this three-pronged approach. You start with love, show the students all of the beauty of nature, and in our area it's obviously going to be the oceans, and find ways to bring the oceans to life and create this love and appreciation. And then the next one is loss. Show them what is at stake and what are the practices taking place that are threatening this environment. But once they've had the love, then the loss is what propels them into this agency. Because you can't, this whole phrase, protect what you love, you don't protect what you don't love, and you don't protect what you don't know. So the starting point for any education program really should be about inspiring a love, a connectivity, an understanding, a pride, appreciation, so that when the threats are put forward, the kids are then propelled into wanting to take action. Does that sound like a good approach from your perspective?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess just showing young people that it's like, when it's not us and the climate as a system, like we're all part of this same global system, and so yeah, kind of it's like, yeah, we're in the carbon cycle, we're in the water cycle, like it's all around us. It's not just a separate thing, it's something we're involved in.
Yeah, that's so true. That's exactly why, that whole line, every second breath you take comes from the ocean, just finding, taglines and facts that show people how they are directly connected to their environment and rely on it for their own well-being. is something we're really working on. And my other question to you, Charlie, is with regards to the role of technology and its role in education. So obviously, with teaching about the oceans and blue carbon stores and the wondrous world beneath the waves, it's very hard to do that because unlike a geography field trip to a national park, we can't take kids to the sort of bottom of the ocean. So we're really developing these immersive tools, VR headsets, digital platforms that take kids, beneath the waves, and it's something that again is going to be freely accessible in classrooms. What's your view on the role of EdTech, and is it something that you think young people, do like to engage with? What format should it take? Should we load in a lot of knowledge and facts into those journeys, or should it just be purely visuals? What do you think would best sort of inspire young people to continue engaging with that scene that we're presenting through VR, for example?
I mean, I guess the thing to really emphasize is that technology doesn't replace and shouldn't replace face-to-face teaching and kind of fostering like connection and knowledge and the ability for the ability for young people to engage critically with their teachers. I think it should be something in addition to that. Yes, I mean, I don't have any personal experience in terms of VR and the role that could play, but I think it's definitely important to acknowledge with its potential.
Yes.
In terms of, I guess, fostering greater understanding.
Yes.
Yes.
This is wonderful. I don't know, but I could go on listening to you two all day, but we also have to sort of keep to our business plan a bit. And I wonder, there's a question coming on the chat, which I think if we just open it, maybe a couple of minutes for questions, which I might just read out. Charlie and Victoria, do you think there should be a GCSE and A-level in sustainability?
Charlie, would you like me to go first, or you go first?
I can go first.
Sure.
I don't think there should be an A-level in sustainability because the issue we found in the past with sustainability education, when it's done in a siloed way in a specific subject, we found this a lot with the natural history GCSE, which was still a really important step, is that it only tends to be offered at schools with lots of resources and who are already very engaged on climate issues and have the ability to run an additional subject. So what I think it also is perhaps emphasizes is that sustainability is something you can choose to care about. And if you're interested in it, you can choose to kind of take it in depth, which is definitely true to an extent. But as a whole subject, it feels like everyone should be learning about sustainability. It shouldn't matter what subjects you choose at GCSE and A-level. I think we should focus on getting it embedded in existing subjects more than introducing new subjects.
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer, Charlie. I think you risk these sort of slightly more niche GCSEs becoming a bit exclusive. And it's certainly something that's come up, as Charlie said, with the OCR Natural History GCSE. I mean, the ideal would be they've become so popular that 2/3 of the school body would take them up, but that's just not the reality, because as Charlie said, it's going to take time to build that sort of level of teacher qualification as well to teach on that course, and limited availability in every school. Whereas at least in things like geography GCSE and A-level, there are strong sustainability themes running throughout those. And we know that geography is a very popular GCSE and A-level choice. So it's more about emphasizing the relevance and applicability of sustainability themes in existing GCSEs and A-level, and obviously in Key Stage 3 lower
Great.
down as well.
I think we've got a couple more. Penny.
Yeah, just a couple of things that I think might be interesting. I was an international schools teacher, and I feel that it might be worth your while reaching out to the International Baccalaureate Organization, because international schools have been working on putting climate issues into the curriculum for years now. I know this because I've got friends still working in international schools, and the IB can probably help with maybe some of their experiences, maybe some of the schools that are really doing well with devising the curriculum. You might be able to find some very useful material that they've already worked out, or some ways, problems that they've solved. I think it would be worthwhile really working on, approaching the International Baccalaureate Organization, especially as they're inquiry based. Yes. The whole primary school is inquiry based. So that's really a fantastic way to get kids engaged and involved. Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is that you're talking about the necessity to have positivity. And I was talking to your previous presenter from Blue Marine who said that he'd been on stage with Prince William. They may be small in terms of the economics of what they're doing, but the films that have been produced for the Earthshot Prize, some fabulous stuff about oceans, which explains the problem and explains what's being done. Several wonderful films that could be used, as well as the David Attenborough film, which I think you would find really, really engaging and very, giving a sense of positivity at the same time.
Thank you, Penny. That's so helpful.
That would be quite useful. But also, when you're talking about what children can do, I would emphasize that there are lots and lots of amazing books on climate out, and that school libraries need to actually have those books available so that children can borrow them and learn more for themselves. It's an enormously complex subject, but there's a huge amount of positivity about what kind of thing you can do, climate heroes, what's being done to, solutions. There's really a good range of books, and I hope that schools are getting them in.
Yes, that's excellent advice. Thank you.
Brilliant. Alan?
So I just wanted to ask very quickly, Victoria, about the question of teeth in relation to the action plan. I understood very clearly your point about teachers being put under pressure to do something that they're already overloaded with. But the question is why the pressure isn't, if there is any pressure, and I'm not actually clear whether it's DfE guidance, advice, or actually whether it's mandatory. I don't know if you can clarify that, and whether there's anything we can do to encourage it to be mandatory in a positive way. Sorry, yeah, that's my point.
Yes, no, good question. No, it is mandatory from last September 2025. So if a school, for example, was to receive an Ofsted inspection, they would be expected to show who their sustainability lead is and what's the evidence of them building a climate action plan. So it's a really great opportunity, to find out what schools are doing and encourage them to engage with it and to offer them support. I mean, the DfE's website for the sustainability and climate action plan does offer some guidance. It's limited, and I know that most teachers would say it's insufficient. But there is support out there, and I think it's just important to let teachers know that we would be very happy to help them invigorate their climate action plans.
This has been an absolutely lovely presentation. It's so nice to hear something hopeful. It sounds as though, as you said, it's a good day to come. So thank you so much, both of you. Really brilliant.
Thank you, Anne, for giving us the opportunity to talk. And it's been lovely meeting Charlie as well, because he's just, Teach the Future. I mean, they're such an incredible organisation. and they're doing great things for policy reform. And I think one conversation that Charlie and I had before this meeting was, really reminded me of the importance of listening to his generation and making sure that any program we build is responding to their needs. And
you might come back again too, maybe in about 6 months, a year, and let us know how it's all been going.
Love to.
Great.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you both so much. Great. Alan, do you want to stop the recording?
So I'll do that. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.